What's up, everybody? It's me and Ben. We're back. Week 2 of college football, and there's been shakeups in the top 10 already. We knew it would happen with LSU and Florida State playing, and we're going to cover some college football. And if you stay with us for the end of the show, it's not going to be a long show. We will cover 2 fights for the UFC this weekend that we feel pretty good about, and it's co-main in the main event. Ben, college football week 1, NFL tonight. We're in our prime right now, boy. You know it. You know what it is.
Yep, the dog days of summer are over for sure. College football has been back 2 weeks. That week 0, only had that Navy and Notre Dame game that were really enticing. This last week, finally, we get a debut that we're about to talk about here shortly. But I mean, that FSU and LSU game, let's break the ice with that one a little bit. I mean, I watched the whole thing, and man, Justin, it was very upsetting as somebody who backed Florida State, LSU. I'm sorry. Their 2 turnover on downs inside the red zone in that first half, and the 2 muffed punts for turnovers to give the ball to Florida State. The game should have been 21-7 at halftime. I felt LSU. They gave up the ball that many times. They were still, I believe, up 3, if not tied at half.
Twice in the red zone and gave it up.
Right, and then the second half, just a complete different football team comes out. But yeah, man, that was a tough first half to watch as a guy that was backing LSU. It was a road game, in Tallahassee, and Florida State came out that second half and they balled.
Florida State really looks like the team of the ACC to beat right now.
Yeah. I mean, especially after that
Clemson meltdown
that Clemson put out there. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Before we get into anything, I do want to make an announcement tonight, 7 p.m. at McAllen's Veteran Memorial Stadium in Mercedes. There will be an event. Football's going on, high school football. But if you go to the Sonic in Mercedes, Texas, any player wearing a jersey will get a free drink tonight. That's in partnership with one of our friends of the podcast, Rick Torres. So check that out tonight to get yourself a free drink if you're a player in Mercedes. Let all your Mercedes friends and family know about this. Ben, also, if you notice, me and Ben got the hats on. We dropped some new merch. He's got the Clubhouse Classic. I got the Sundowner. And we also got the casino golf ball marker. It's 2-sided here. It's a casino golf ball marker. So you can, when you're out in the playing the links, you're putting, you can mark your balls. You know what I'm saying? So check that out. You can scan the QR code or you can go to WTBS.store to pick one up. We got deals on them right now. And you know what? Inventory is getting limited. We're down to our last hats. So you might want to check that out as soon as you can. You like the hat, Ben? What do you think about the hat?
Yeah, I mean, this one, the Clubhouse Classic, we got the white with the black rope, and then the black, we talking about sports in cursive, the new logo that y'all came up with. I like it. The cap already has the natural bend to it. Yes. So this hat, you don't have to do the bending. It's a snapback in the back. The black one, same thing. The Sundowner, so you got the black hat, black rope, white cursive, WTBS. That one you do have to shape. It does come like in a flat bill. So if you're somebody who wants to shape it up for the links, you can shape it up. But the white one already comes with perfectly the curve in there. Yeah.
Ben, let's go to my top 10 here, man. I got Georgia staying at number 1. I got number 2, Michigan. I got 3, Alabama. 4, taking over LSU spot, Florida State. 5, Ohio State. 6, Penitentiary State, Penn State. 7, USC. 8, Notre Dame. 9, Washington. And 10, Tennessee. Did I get it right this week?
Well,
what do you think?
What are the changes? I mean,
so LSU's out, Clemson is out. Those are the guys that moved out of the top 10. We're inserting Washington and Tennessee into the top 10, and we're moving Florida State up to number 4, and we're moving Ohio State down to number 5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still, Texas still isn't in there. After this Saturday, you'll have no choice but to put Texas in there. So
hey, I like what you're saying a lot.
Let's see if you plug them in at that number 3 spot after they beat Alabama, or if you just notch them up 1 or 2 spots in the 9 or 10 spot like you did with Washington and Tennessee. But I mean, for the most part, aside from Texas not being in there, I'm not going to complain. Penn State, shout out to them, bro, and their coach Franklin. He likes to cover. I can guarantee you that man knows what the spread is.
He knew what it was that night.
Yeah, because he covers spreads. That's the type of coach you want to back. And then a little bit into this Ohio State game, man. I took the -7 first quarter, and I also took the -16.5 first half. So they pushed in the first quarter. They were up 7-0. This isn't the Ohio State team that's going to score every time they get the football like in years past.
Yeah.
It was a lot of handing the ball off,
A lot of running.
running backs work, and they just, I mean, eventually they were kind of able to wear out that it was Indiana defense that they were playing,
Yeah.
and that's bottom of the barrel in the Big Ten football, Indiana, but just not an impressive offensive performance. The defense, really, really good defense, obviously wasn't that tough of an opponent, but man, I mean, that quarterback really has to figure stuff out.
Well, he's going to have a battle because it's not set in stone that he's a starter this week. They will be putting both quarterbacks in.
Okay, and who's going to be the backup that's going to be getting some playing time?
Kyle McCord's original backup this week. I don't know his name, but he's going to be getting the playing time. They did take away a touchdown to Marvin Harrison. That would have been a 24-yard touchdown. It was ruled that it should have been counted, so there should have been 7 more points on the board. But like you said, Ben, they were doing an old school Ohio State run attack, and it's not the Ferrari offense we're used to seeing with all the weapons they have. It's a little bit disappointing considering the 5-star receivers they brought in, the pair of them. You think they would have been throwing to them, adding to Marvin Harrison and Igbuka, but they just went away from it.
Yeah, and for Marvin Harrison, I mean, he's a made man already as far as his NFL career and the draft goes. He would have gone higher, I'm sure, than Jackson this past year if he was eligible. But man, his stats are not going to be as good as they were last year. They might not even be the same as last year because, I mean, I know it's only one game. I don't want to overreact, but this looked like Wisconsin play calling and not Ohio State play calling.
Absolutely.
Is what I came away with that.
All right. Well, the Cinderella team of this Saturday, who really stole the headlines, seemed like everybody was talking about Prime and Colorado. They did pull off the upset. They were 21-point dogs going into that game, and they win it over TCU 45-42. Ben, a lot of people, are saying the AP poll is overreacting. They're putting them into the top 25. It's undeserved. What do you make of this team? I mean, 42 points given up is a lot. That's not going to do it throughout the course of the season. What do you make of this?
Yeah, for sure it's not. But it was a TCU team who, yes, they lost their quarterback and their receiver, but the quarterback that was starting was the guy that was coming back. I mean, that was there last year, right? He just had gotten hurt, and that's why Duggan became the starter. I mean, the game was exciting as hell. I mean, you had a little bit of everything, right? You had some Colorado turnovers that were like, oh, that's the Colorado team everybody was expecting. That wide receiver catching the ball in the flat, falling and fumbling off of his teammate, another wide receiver who was blocking off of his calf. You had some of those plays, but it essentially was like a game where the last team that was going to have the ball was probably going to win. And the Colorado defense, I mean, they were holding tough in the first half. They were making it hard. But going into halftime, you could kind of see that they were starting to get out muscled. TCU was running the ball for 6-7 yards a pop and then passing. They were scoring in 1 or 2 plays, 3 plays. So that's why it figured to be that last team to have the ball is going to win. And then TCU just starts messing with the clock a little too much. They did have the ball last, right? They're driving, they're past the 50, 1st and 10 at the 40-yard line, run, gain of 0. Let's kill some clock, right? They were working with about 3 minutes and some change. 2nd down, run the ball, no gain, right? Now you put yourself in a 3rd and long, from the 40-yard line. So you have 2 chances to get the 10 yards instead of the 4 because those runs went for absolutely nothing. I think they got a little too cute, TCU, and it ended up costing them that 3rd and long and that 4th and long. But I mean, it's a pretty lame term, but it's a Cinderella story. It really is with Colorado and just how everybody had written them off. I mean, their Vegas total was 2.5, 3.5. I'm sure right after that first game, it's at least got to be at like 5, 5.5 now. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So am I overreacting to them? Are they overreacting to them being ranked now? I don't think so. I mean, usually when somebody beats a team, we end up wanting to fill them in at their spot, right? You beat that team, you go ahead and you take their spot. For Colorado, who a lot of people were so low on, I see why people could be saying overreaction, right? Oh, it's prime. They gave you this. They have the star quarterback. They have the star two-way player. But yeah, man, Colorado, it's still going to be tough, playing in the Pac-12 with all those quarterbacks. But they got a game coming up this week against a team in Nebraska. Nebraska catching 7 that I loved last week against Minnesota. They ended up giving the game away. But I mean, with Sanders, he's the real deal, bro. He's the real deal, and they're going to win some games just off the strength of how good of a quarterback he is. Yeah. So give me the -3. Give me the Buffs. Give me the money line this week against Nebraska. I think this is another game that they do win.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, they were electric on Saturday. Getting to see Dion's halftime speech, that was electric. He says, if we don't underthrow or overthrow Travis, the Heisman sitting at the crib right now. And it honestly looked like it. Now, do you think Travis Hunter can keep up this many snaps? I mean, he had, 100 and some snaps that
111,
game?
I believe.
You think he can keep that up throughout the season? That's a lot of snaps.
It definitely is a lot of snaps. The competition, the defenses are going to get a little bit stiffer, once they start playing those ranked teams in like Oregon, USC, and Utah and whatnot, Washington. But, I mean, at the end of the game, they interviewed him. He said, I'm not tired. I'm ready to go again. A lot of adrenaline after a win like that, right? I'm not doubting that he wasn't ready to go again. He probably was ready to go again just off the adrenaline of, winning the debut games, getting a pick, doing what he did. But, man, you got to think that they might scale it back a little bit the deeper in the season that they get. They might really pick the possessions where they want to play him on defense. I think that primarily they want him on offense. I really do.
That's the tough question to answer because he was effective both on offense and defense. So you got to ask yourself, where is he better put? Is he better just maintaining on defense, or do you use him as a threat on offense? He was producing on both ends. Interception, touchdown. I mean, what do you do?
For sure, but just as a DB, I mean, you just impact the game a little less than as a wide receiver, and especially a team like Colorado, they're going to have to find themselves outscoring teams to win when they're playing the likes of like USC, Utah and those teams. So you want your better weapons on offense. You want to match score for score with that other team and then plug him in maybe every other defensive possession or whatnot. But personally, I mean, I think he's their best player. I know that the other receiver had 3 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But the attention was on Hunter. And he runs clean routes. He dropped a couple of balls in the first half. And then like Dion spoke about those deep balls, but man, he keeps the defense really honest when he's in there on offense, and it makes it easier for everybody else. So the bigger impact for me personally is on the offensive end because TCU was throwing at him when he was in there as a DB. And I asked you, like, why are they keep throwing to him? They think that he's tired. And you said, well, if you look back at his HBCU tape, I mean, it wasn't that good. Yeah. But he made them pay when they threw at him. I mean, he was a really good DB. And I just feel that teams, maybe they throw him out there, right? And teams just stop throwing at him. And he's effective that way and doesn't get us tired. But TCU was trying to work him, and it didn't work out for them.
Well, as you mentioned with the betting angle, the public loves Colorado. They're getting more bets than some of these NFL games. So that's pretty good to see. But enough of last week. It's time for the game of the week where College Game Day will be. And it's, a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Implications will be going down with this game for Texas. A win here at Tuscaloosa, at Titletown, would be a big deal for the Longhorns. And I'm just going to go straight and talk about the Longhorns and say, you know what? Ewers wasn't terrible against Rice. He had the 5-touchdown game. The problem for me is the interior O-line. He was, getting put on his back quite a bit. There's still some shakiness with the deep ball, and it does have to, the reason why it's shaky is because he doesn't take the hit and throw. He goes down and he throws, and so that's why the deep ball is not accurate, and that's against Rice. Now we're talking about an Alabama defensive line. They're going to be getting to him, and I'm worried about that. We saw what happened with Ewers last year. He was doing really good against Alabama until he went out of the game. I hope we're not going to have to see some situation like that. Skilled position, Ben, I really believe the Longhorns and what they got on the skilled positions, we're better than Alabama. I really believe that on this year. I think the receivers are better. The running backs are better this year as it stands right now. because they got young guys. They got Jalen Milroe, the sophomore out of Katy, Texas, backing up at the quarterback now. I think our guys are better than them on the skill of the positions. Interior, on the O line, the D line, we just don't match up. And games are won there. So I'm worried. What do you think?
I mean, I look at it and I say, is Texas better than they were last year?
Defensively, people say yes.
Coming into the season, I mean, just in general as a team, I know they've only had Rice as, that test, but on paper, they're a better team than they were last year. Last year, is Alabama a better team than they were last year?
I don't think they are.
And I think that would be the consensus answer. How can they be? They lost the number 1 pick in the NFL draft, right? They lost Jamari Gibbs to the NFL draft. I understand that the Longhorns lost Bijan Robinson, and he's a hell of a player. But when we're talking about Alabama, it's kind of that Ohio State scenario. Now, they did light up the scoreboard this past week against, that bummy school that they played, but it's kind of a whole new revamping, maybe different way of playing, not a Bryce Young Ferrari offense like you mentioned with Ohio State. So I think that gives Texas more of a chance. I think that, if Texas is just having to stop the run, maybe the bootleg, the 2-step drops, 3-step drops, but not necessarily that spread offense all game long. Now, maybe I'm wrong. I didn't see any of the Alabama game. I saw the highlights. But were they in shotgun most of the game, or did they go conventional?
They were in shotgun. They were running Milroe out a lot. He had that one play where it should have been a fumble and 10-yard loss. He turns it into a touchdown because that's the kind of guy you got back there with Milroe. He's a physical. Hendon Hooker, he's like that, but with speed. He's Hendon Hooker with speed. Big arm, but he has speed.
Okay, so I mean, then maybe the offense isn't changing that much, but maybe is he more of a runner than Bryce Young was then? It's safe to assume that then, right?
Yes, he's more of a runner than Bryce Young.
Okay, so I mean, maybe he's just not going to hurt Texas as much with his arm. And, they're going to have to do the QB spy or whatever it may be. But I just don't think Alabama is a better team than they were last year. I think Texas had them on the ropes. The game was still tight. And obviously the starter got hurt. This year, if the starter gets hurt, I mean, the backup's pretty damn good. And we might not feel too bad if the backup's in there against this Alabama team in Milroe. But I think Texas has a really good shot. I understand that last year they were at home. But, man, they were just so damn close, bro. And with Ewers in there, without him being hurt, I mean, it looked like we were on our way, bro.
It really did.
I don't want to say a comfortable win, but I don't think that we were going to be in one of those last team with the ball wins the game type of game. If Ewers was still in there, I think that we would have had a little bit of cushion, whether it be a possession, half a possession in the ball, whatever it may be. I just felt like the Longhorns could have sealed up the game. And this year, I mean, I think that they just got to be thinking back to last year and what could have been, right? This is a year where kind of all the marbles are on the table, not only for Quinn Ewers and his NFL career and his prospect as an NFL QB, right? Because you win a game like this and you probably shoot up the board, a couple of spots. Oh, yeah. So this has a lot of meaning, a lot more meaning, I feel, for the Texas Longhorns and what they mean as a program. I understand it's in Tuscaloosa, one of the toughest places to play. But I mean, we saw Johnny Manziel go in there as probably, I think they were like a 14, 17-point underdog and went outright. This is, if I'm correct, I believe this spread is what, Justin?
7 for Alabama.
So a touchdown within one possession. Man, I mean, I'm biased as fuck. Give me the Longhorns here plus the 7. I'm not going to take the money line, but I do think that we can win this game.
I honestly feel like this is a winnable game for us too. Give me the Longhorns here. Right. I think we do keep it close, and I'll go 28-22. Texas.
28-22. All right.
Real random score.
Super random.
Yeah. All right. Well, we said we're going to talk UFC. This card is not my favorite card, by the way. It's a lot of Australian guys and New Zealand guys making up the card. So we're going to start with the co-main event here, and we got Tai Tuivasa versus Sergey Pavlov. This fight doesn't mean anything, honestly. Winner's not getting a shot next. Winner's not getting anything in the title run. Winner maybe starts a run, if anything. That's what this fight is. Give me Tai here. I think, he's a little bit, he can take the punch to give his, and I think that's going to be the case here. Pavlovich does have that long jab, and he does box really well, but I don't see him getting it this time around.
Yeah, and I don't have the line on me. I know that Tai Tuivasa is the underdog in this fight, though. Yeah, like you mentioned, Justin, this fight is across the pond, I believe, in Sydney, if
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
correct. So a
Regular
lot,
fight time though.
yeah, and that's the part that I like. I mean, yes, it is one of those crappier cards. We're gonna watch no matter what because we just watch every UFC event. But at least they're not making us wake up at 5, 6 in the morning, to watch it, and they put it on at regular standard time for us, Saturday night pay per view. This is a 2 TVs in the living room type of Saturday night between the fights, the Longhorns, and the Alabama game. I mean, it's just setting up to be a hell of a Saturday, bro. I really like it. But here I'm going with Tai Tuivasa, just like you are as a dog.
Yeah.
I think that we expect a lot of these fighters from Australia to come out with the victory. We've seen Pavlovich against Derek Lewis win the fight for
It's Volkov. I had it wrong, by the way.
who?
Alexander Volkov. That's his name. I don't know why I got Sergey Pavlovich.
That's the jacked up Russian. Yeah,
that's the Ngannou, the Russian Ngannou.
Right, we wouldn't be picking Tai against him. That's for damn sure. I think that he already beat the shit out of Tai, if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, but here, I mean, we've got Volkov, and we saw what Derek Lewis did to him, in the final 30 seconds of their fight, in a fight that he was losing the whole time. Volkov has that tall man's defense, man. A lot of, chin up, head up, backing out, just trying to stay out of the reach. And Tuivasa is a guy that has a couple of blitzes in him, every fight. I don't think it takes more than 2 to 3 blitzes to find Volkov's chin, and get that upset. So give me Tai Tuivasa as the underdog.
I'm with you on that, and I would cash you at plus 200 for Tai Tuivasa.
2-1 dog, bro. All right.
Main event, it's Israel Adesanya, the champion, middleweight champion, versus Sean Strickland, minus 650 for Adesanya.
Sheesh.
Now, Ben, I want to give you some credit. You were a little bit early to the Strickland, possibility of getting a champion. You predicted this back in 2021 that he would be a future champion for 2022. We're in 2023 and we're finally got a chance to see it.
He's got a shot.
Do you go with it? Do you go with it and say, you know what, I predicted this in 2021. It's finally going to come to fruition in 2023. Or do we see Adesanya standing over a Sean Strickland body?
Yeah, I think when I predicted that, it's because that's when I believe that whole John Jones and Izzy thing was going on also. And I thought that Izzy was going to make his way up to 205 and maybe not stay over there permanently, but after doing 205, maybe go up to the one. Is he 180 already or is he 170?
Who?
Izzy.
185.
185, I'm sorry. Yeah, so, I mean, it was just, that random pick of Strickland. Here he is. He's found himself in this fight after beating, a UFC newcomer or a second fight in the UFC in his first ever main event for Strickland. But he got rid of a guy in 2 rounds, and for Strickland to finish somebody, I mean, that is pretty rare. I know that I said he would be champion. As much as I want to see it, because this guy's a fucking lunatic, and the press run that would, happen
control this man
after would be just out of control. I think he gets knocked out, bro. I know Izzy minus 6 some. I think Izzy by KO or TKO is the way to go. I think that Strickland is very aggressive, and that leaves a shot for Israel Adesanya to counter. Strickland's aggressive, but he's not going to get Izzy out of there with his punches. I think Izzy's going to counter him, and I think it's going to be some highlight reel shit. I think
easy work for Izzy here.
I really do think it's going to be easy work for Izzy. Maybe the first round Strickland wins because he's going to be real aggressive, and Izzy's going to kind of be feeling it out. But I think that he's able to pick this guy apart I think he's going to be able to feint and have Strickland react so hard to a feint that he's going to hit him with some shit that Strickland never saw coming, bro. Like, I really think that this is going to be some highlight reel type finish for Israel Adesanya. I mean, let's be like I said, Strickland kind of beat a nobody his last fight. How is he getting this title fight? Because, well, Izzy's beat most of the division and he calls the shots. You know what? Give me Strickland, right?
Yeah.
This guy talks a lot. He's a hothead. Give me Strickland. He's got a lot of flaws. Izzy's going to style on him. I'm not the biggest Izzy fan, but he is going to style on Sean Strickland.
You know what, Ben? I agree with you 100%. We've seen Izzy fight guys, who can wrestle a little bit. Sean's best option is to wrestle, not to stand up with Izzy. And he's not the better wrestler than Robert Whitaker. He's not the better wrestler than Marvin Vittori. So if that's, going to be his option for winning, you talk to paths to victory, it's not a good path to victory for him. And stand up, it's miles ahead of Izzy's miles ahead of him, way,
I'm
way ahead of him. So
I do think that another path to victory for him is just outworking Izzy, right? And just
the
pressuring and
decision,
moving forward because he can do that. But I don't see a world where he doesn't get caught if he's doing that,
yeah,
over 5 rounds. And I don't expect it to last 5 rounds. But man, I just see Izzy being too precise and
yeah.
just catching him with something and then TKO ground and pound.
We've seen him try to do that with Alex Behey to kind of work a decision, and he just jab, come in, feint a jab, move, and Alex knocked him out. I mean, he just knocked him out clean. I don't see a world where Izzy doesn't do the same.
It's
I
different.
just have I cannot imagine a win for Sean Strickland Saturday night. I just don't know what the path would be to get it done. It's not going to be wrestling, and
Would
it's
you
not going
like
to
to
be
see
stand up.
it? Would you like to see it?
Oh yes, I really would. The presser afterward would be lit. Not Joe Rogan, but whoever's going to come in the cage, Cormier, or I don't know if Laura Sanko will be in the cage, John Anik, whoever's going to be in the cage in Australia that night. If Sean Strickland wins, imagine having to control his mouth
Yeah.
and the stuff he would say at that point.
Lucky for them, it's pay-per-view.
Yeah, lucky for the UFC, it's pay-per-view. Well, Ben, I think that's it for us today. It was going to be a short pod. Just give up the updated standings in the top 10, a little MMA minute, not the full MMA hour. Anything else you want to leave us with other than NFL's tonight and Patrick Mahomes will be without Kelsey in the mix, without Chris Jones in the mix? Do you think it's fair they drop those 6.5 points down to 4.5 point favorites now?
I mean, I understand it. I get it. It's pretty crazy to think that Travis Kelsey, a tight end, is worth a full 2 points. But then when you start getting into, that stable of weapons that Mahomes has after that, it's guys like Sky Moore, Valdez Scantling. It's really nobody crazy, nobody of any name value. Pacheco, but I expect Pacheco to have a pretty big game, to be honest, both rushing and receiving. I think that he's going to find himself close to 100 yards of total offense today just because of the way that they're going to have to use him. But yeah, man, I mean, I think the Lions might be live. I'm not going to go out on a limb and pick them, but I think that they got a chance. I think that they might be able to run the ball on the Chiefs, kind of keep Mahomes on the sideline. Lucky for me, I'm playing that Mahomes and Kelsey stack week 1. So, Kelsey being out is just music to my ears. Sorry, bully. I'm going to have to take you down without your first round pick, buddy.
You like the overs tonight, though, for the whole game, the total? You think we're getting overs tonight?
I don't know, because if the Lions can run the ball, I could see them, like I said, cutting the possessions out of the game. So, if anything, bro, honestly, I would say maybe take the points with the Lions. That's where I would go. Maybe like a first half Lions, right? The Chiefs are going to be getting their rings. They're going to be without Kelsey. It might take a little bit of time to figure it out. You got to think the Lions. Yeah, you got to think the Lions are going to come out with a pretty scripted, either 1, 2, 3 drives maybe that are scripted. That's when teams tend to have, a lot of their success when they have those scripted drives. So give me the Lions first half, bro. Give me the Lions first half. I'll put that in after the game, after the pod. They got to be at least catching a field goal. I could see a tie game, either team up by 3. So give me the Lions first half.
I'm hoping for the overs tonight and the team total for both of them. I hope that we see the overs. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I got a lot of Jamari Gibbs.
Get some scoring.
I got a lot of Gibbs running in fantasy football, so I am looking forward to seeing his debut for sure.
Absolutely. Well, I think that does it for us at We Talking About Sports. There it is, college football top 10, MMA minute, and a little bit of tonight's Thursday night preview. Peace.
Peace.